Have you been struggling with a body weight or self-image problem? Do you have pain in your body? Are you living with frequent colds or the flu? Or even worse, a diagnosed incurable disease? How would you like to hear that none of these issues are real? How would you like to hear that all of these problems are illusions, figments of your imagination, created by incorrect information and limited beliefs? In fact, it's my life passion and purpose to inform you that you don't have to live a life in lack or limitation any longer. I am here to say the poverty mindset can become a thing of your past. You can step into your abundance. You don't have to be controlled by fear or anxiety. You can fix or heal your relationships. You can raise up your energy. You can learn to love yourself. You can step back into the very best version of you. You can heal your life. It's totally up to you. It's your choice. It's your decision. You are the power that can do this. You are the creator of your life. Each and every single one of us has this power. We all have access to the infinite divine root energy that is available to each and every one of us. We can command and direct this power out into our lives. We all need to get the truth. We all need new information. We all need to overcome the brainwashing. Every one of us needs to stop the incorrect thoughts. We all must rise above the wrong, limited beliefs that we have accepted and allowed to form our current reality. The truth is, you have the power. You can lose the weight and keep it off for the rest of your life. The truth is that there is no pain or disease that is permanent. There is no circumstance that you are stuck in. You can overcome any situation that you wish to in your life. You can do it now. You can begin today. You do not need any pills. You don't need any potions. You don't need to buy any powders or any medications. You have everything that you need to change your life. Welcome to my weekly YouTube broadcast show about weight loss, about healing, and about improving performance in any aspect of your life. I'm your host, John DePass, the Melon Man.
For you now, you got 2 minutes of my time.
Going out west because, I'm 20 years doing biodynamic craniosacral now. And
20 years doing biodynamic craniosacral therapy.
Craniosacral therapy.
So, you know what? You've done that with me, and I loved it. I would love to do some more with you. I would love to do some more with you. But, tell me about it. What is it exactly? It's energy work. It's body energy work.
It is. So,
tease it out. Let me hear you talk about it.
See,
you need to practice it, right?
I do. I need to practice talking about it. And all of us, I'm on the board of directors for our association. We all struggle with, we all consider it so magical and amazing and transformational. And we all struggle with the wording.
Okay, so it's practice that makes this happen.
Yeah.
So let's do a little short talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
Tell me about biodynamic craniosacral therapy. Tell me.
Well, you know that what you think of when you think of something, right, it brings energy to it and it gets bigger.
What you focus on grows.
Right. What you focus on grows. So we focus on the health, not the problem, when we work on someone. And that is a big paradigm shift. Most practitioners are looking for problems when they work on you. Wouldn't you say? Like,
yes. Doctors, absolutely. Allopathic medicine, we're prescribing something to deal with the ailment, whereas the biodynamic craniosacral therapist is working with focusing on, you know, the love and the wellness and the well-being of
that's the paradigm shift. And so there's physiologically, you know, this comes out of osteopathy. So there was an osteopath in the 1920s named Dr. William Sutherland. We consider him the father of craniosacral therapy. And he was holding a real skull, and it kind of fell apart in his hands, and he thought that was interesting since he was taught that it was fused in an adult. And he found some other things, like the temporal bone has a beveled edge, and actually you can kind of see it on my, I have a deer skull here. I don't know if you can see it online, but you can see the temporal bone here. You see how it moves? And he looked at that and he thought, that kind of reminds me of the gills of a fish. And then also in this joint right in here, there was some cartilage, and he thought, everywhere else in the body where there's cartilage, there's movement. So he thought, if it's fused, I should be able to prove it. So he got an old football helmet and used bandages and stuff to compress different bones, and would document all his physiological symptoms that arose. And then for many, many years, he used his own body as a guinea pig, and then wrote a treatise on it, and then his wife wrote a treatise on it, and ever since then, it's been acknowledged that the whole cranium actually expands and contracts 6 to 12 times a minute. And so it's obviously a very small movement, but it radiates through the whole body, through the pelvis, through the feet. And that is partly what we listened for, is all the bones are either paired bones or midline bones. So sometimes coming through the birth canal, there's a torsion in the sphenoid or different bones and stuff like that. And whatever other outside forces we've encountered through our lives that have overwhelmed
any trauma, physical trauma, or any.
This is an amazing therapy for trauma, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But later in his life, Dr. William Sutherland, he got more interested in where is this movement coming from, and he got into the brain and the ventricles and started to see the cerebrospinal fluid was moving up and down, in and around the brain. It's filtered from the choroid plexus in the ventricles. It's a clear fluid like the lymph. Comes in and around the brain down the spinal column at a rate of 6 to 12 times a minute. And so what we do as therapists is we listen for this fluctuation. And so what's really interesting about it, and he really, really got into the fluids and really felt there was a luminescence of health, that the spirit really lived in these fluids. And so what happens, this fluid is moving, right? And our bodies are 80% fluids, right? 70% water, I would say 80% fluids. So, our eyes deceive us, right? We're actually 97% molecular space as well, anatomical space. So our eyes deceive us, our touch deceives us. And so, and actually there's a video called Heal on Netflix that talks a little bit
about that. That's so good you said that. You're the second person to tell me in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they talk a little bit about that we're mostly space. So what happens
I'll check that.
is as we go into the fluid tide, any areas of stillness show up. So what happens when we go through fight, flight, freeze response? Okay, so fight, flight, and there's a moment that our reptilian part of the brain, okay, not the intellect, because we have the intellect, we have the limbic system, which is the emotional system, and then we have the reptilian brain, which is the part that's responsible for keeping us safe. So when we hit that part of the brain perceives I might not make it, it goes into a freeze response. And at that point, there's a dissociation, the soul starts to pull out, so you won't feel pain. And also, any information about the event gets put on the shelf, hidden in the body in pockets of undigested life experience or pockets of inertia, so it's not moving. So when we listen to your body, we go into stillness, we hold a really strong midline and a mindfulness space, we listen to the fluctuation of the fluids. Those areas of inertia are like rocks in the stream, they pop up. And then because I'm another nervous system, right, with two autonomic nervous systems, I'm holding yours, your system will have extra resource to repattern and start to facilitate the digestion of those points. And what makes biodynamic craniosacral therapy different than craniosacral therapy or osteopathy or, is that we are not manipulating. I'm not going to, feel your bone, feel that subtle movement and try and facilitate a change. I am listening, and what we have is we negotiate boundaries. So we have negotiated touch with our client, because what happens when we have trauma is something is overwhelmed, overpowered a system. So in order to heal, we need the system to re-empower itself, right? We need that power to come back. And so we're very careful on our negotiation of touch with the client. We really ask them, how does that feel? And we want them to say, I'm not going in and fixing, right? That's not empowering to my client, right? So I'm facilitating their system through a negotiated touch. How does that feel? Do you want the music on? Would you like a lighter touch? How does that feel? And so their system, through resourcing, through the fluids, through the health, reconnects to its health. And these other little traumas and stuff start to peter away and work themselves, unravel and work themselves out. So the focus is on the health. The body gets an extra resource of health through recycling through my nervous system as well, as I hold a strong midline. And it's like the body starts to tell its story on its way out. And what was in those pockets of undigested life experience, the other puzzle pieces, because say I'm in a car accident, right? I'm in a car accident and there's tons of information coming at me. My knee hits the dash, my forehead hits the steering wheel, there's a crunch of metal, there's a torque of the thing, there's somebody in the back seat, there's just tons of information. When I hit that freeze response, all that information goes somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It's still there, but it hides in the body. And the body doesn't want to feel it again because it was terrifying, right? Its instinct is to move away from it. So if you move towards trauma, trauma will tend to hide deeper. Like, no, thank you. I don't want to go back through that experience. So there's very, very specific techniques of negotiating very, very delicately, focusing on the health. So it's like, I'm not looking at you. I'm not looking at you. You can do your thing, work itself out. I'm focused on the health. I have confidence that your body will come back, and everything resets through midline forces, because there's forces in the body, ignition forces, like birth is an ignition, implantation's an ignition. When the heart comes alive, there's a heart, when it starts beating, there's a heart ignition. Birth itself is ignition. So these ignition forces we can still access through the embryological forces of health in the body through listening to these tides. So I was telling you about the one tide of the cerebral spinal fluid 6 to 12 times a minute. There's actually 2 deeper tides that even take it to a much deeper level. And one is the fluid tide, and you start to literally feel like you're in the ocean. The room starts to feel like an aquarium when we go into the fluid tide. And that is a 25-second tide. And then the long tide, is kind of like a really, really deep place the body goes to restore and sort things out. That's a 50-second tide. And it's kind of neat what happens to the body at that point. It's almost like the body stops breathing. It goes into deep, what we call dynamic stillness. And it kind of feels like, like an astronaut in space, because you go into the spatial body that we're 97% space. So, and it's amazing doing this work, because it really feels like shifting is happening for the body when it goes through the shifting that is happening on so many levels that my mind can't perceive, as the body resets. So.
And okay, so I have a few questions about it. So we can tease this out a little bit more. So, I mean, first of all, I made the link to, the body being paralyzed with fear.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
And we
block.
all-
I talk about blocked emotion.
Sorry.
But I talk about blocked emotions. Like, we suppress blocked emotions. If we've had a trauma in our life, we've lost a relationship, a death of a
Right.
of a loved one, a mother, a father, a loss of a child, a loss of a relationship, loss of any kind can create such sadness, which is pain, fear of that happening to you again, anger, all of those emotions now, are in your psyche, your personality, and we try to shove them down because we've got to go to work and we've got to be a parent and we've got to do the things that we do, the things that go on in our day. So we suppress these energies and we put out this exterior, this personality or this ego.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotion has been suppressed and it stays in, digestive organs. It stays in the stomach. It stays in the kidney. It stays in the liver. It stays in the hips. It stays in the musculature. And it creates pain.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it creates physical pain or energy pain or energy blockages that can manifest as a sore back or digestive upset or, congestion or constipation. It manifests in many different ways. And I believe that you can speak to that inner child and you can speak to that shadow energy and you can invite it to come back up and you can sense it and feel it and release it. Like, is that sort of similar, do you think, to what you're doing when you're releasing blocked fear energy that's in the cerebral spinal fluid? Would you compare it?
I think it is comparable, and there's another component.
Okay, please.
So absolutely, I think that we're all here to really love our inner child and really treat that inner child with like tenderness. That every single emotion. I don't believe in negative emotions. You wouldn't look at a baby screaming saying you're being negative. Emotions are just emotions, and
but they need to be expressed.
Yeah, they need to be heard. That's what releases them.
Which is loving them, which is giving them love. Like, they need love too. Yeah. Even darkness wants light.
Absolutely. And, if you think of them like a little child you invite onto your lap and saying, what are you feeling? I care about you.
I understand why that happened, why you felt that way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like being your own best friend.
Yeah, it's so important, and we need to do that every day. And I think of it like a love muscle too. The universe is always testing us, saying, "Do you really love yourself?" It's pushing on you a little bit to forge your steel, and it's like you have to really assert that again. Yes, I love you no matter what. To that inner child. And
so with the craniosacral, you're like putting your hands on the neck, head area, and you're feeling that fluid moving. Like, you can feel the subtle change in the cranium. Like, you can actually feel the cranial bones like pulsing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's very subtle, and it takes a while to develop that skill because it is so subtle. And the first thing is to settle yourself, of course, and then you wait, and then the body starts to talk. It's absolutely amazing, and it talks through sensation. So I love what you were saying about emotions, because that's so true. But this even goes a little bit deeper.
Nice.
To that when we're a baby, the autonomic nervous system, right, is the reptilian part of the brain, is the first part to develop. So when you think of the first language, right, is touch and sensation, right? So, I mean, touch, we can't live without it. So touch in itself is so powerfully healing, and especially gentle touch, of course. But also what happens, and I did a pediatric craniosacral training about, I don't know, a lot of years ago, maybe 18 years ago, and it was Michael Shea, and he was saying to me, I was walking down the street with him, and he said, you know, that early stuff, your birth stuff, it just recapitulates through your whole life. And I had no idea what he was talking about. You know, I was looking, I was like, I just can't see it. And then all of a sudden, my parents, I was at dinner and my parents launched into a story of what happened after I was birthed. And they said it in a very loving way and everything. And it was like 2 days later, as I started to thaw, I realized I'd gone into shock hearing that story. And then I started to see everywhere. I started to see that early stuff, you know, from conception to age 2. And when we study, you know, well, I'll tell a little bit more about that in a minute. I could see it telling that story through my whole life, through adolescence, through my early 20s. I could see this whole story because, you know, we attract things because we're here to heal, right? So we'll attract a similar circumstances subconsciously to try and work it out again. And it's like, and so what...
This is why we get reoccurring things happen in our life, you know, the poor relationships, poor financial situations, injuries, digestive issues.
Right. And it can be ancestral as well. As I heard one of your speakers talking about that, you know, as we clear out, you know, that it's even sometimes what we pick up as we come in from other generations. And so I've been going out west because, you know, it tends to be in this field because it's so linked up that people also study pre and perinatal developmental trauma and healing of that, and also somatic experiencing, which also is a great way of negotiating trauma. So I've been going out west for, this will be my 3rd year to finish it up, of really going back to that early ancestral and conception stories and, you know, birth stuff to really look at it because I really want to heal my nervous system. And it was completely transformational for me to go to do that. I felt like I'd been waiting my whole life to do it. So, yeah, so that is also part of it, you know, embracing that early journey.
Okay, so now a little bit further. When you were speaking about it, I thought of like meridians.
Yeah.
Is it about, like you talked about energy meridians, like, is it about, you know, like kind of energy kind of moving around? Is it linked to aura? Is it like,
what do you
connection to the aura? Like you're using your energy meridians, you're bringing your energy to the person's body, you're putting your conscious thought and energy toward the person, and you're connecting with their energy meridians and their thought and helping them to come back online naturally?
So I do Shiatsu as well. So I do use a meridian system for that. This is deeper. I feel it's deeper going into the cerebral spinal fluid and those fluctuations. So what am I'm really creating, we call it a relational field, that when we hook up, so then our nervous systems are linked together, and I stay really grounded in my own midline.
So you're like meditating, you're centering yourself, you're being conscious of your breath perhaps.
Yes, and I'm listening to my sensations, but I'm also listening to their sensations. And often I'll feel what's going on through my own body. But I'm not here to manipulate.
You're just here to sit with and be with.
Light, because that is a manipulation. You know, the idea of there's those pockets of undigested life experience that all the energy, you know, when that happens, it sucks energy, right? It traps energy. And so as they release, that energy that the person needs comes back. And everything resets, reorganizes, and resets from the midline. So I'm really listening to the story. And just like, you know, if you go to a therapist and you're saying to the therapist, oh, I feel this emotion, I feel that, and it like feels so good to be heard. It's like on a sensation level, your body really loves to be heard as well. So, and it starts to reset. So there's many levels it's happening, because there's also a synchronicity of, like, hopefully I don't have the same issues as my clients. So where the client has, you know, areas of stuck, maybe it can track through my body and go, oh, well, there's a pathway home, you know, kind of thing. So there is a synergy that happens by touch, with the touch, and sitting really still.
So now, does it link up with chakra work? Is there any connection to chakra?
I love the chakras, and does it sync up? I mean, I don't know if sync up is the right. Like everybody has a different sort of paradigm of mapping system, and I know some biodynamic teachers include the chakras and some definitely don't. So is it related, or is it something you resonate with that is a mapping system that maybe you use as well? I don't know. What we do is we study, I call it right brain anatomy. We really look at, like, as we're studying, we do have a 2-year foundation training, and as we study it, we're really looking at the body in as many ways as we can, 3D anatomy, 2D anatomy, and so that, you know, when we touch a body, the body knows what we know, you know, and so it can talk through the anatomy, if that makes sense. You know, we look at, like, Gil Headley has wonderful dissections for body workers, and often he does fresh bodies as well as, you know, ones that are older and more preserved, but just to show what tissue really looks like, you know, on the inside and stuff like that. So that's all education. We're always deepening our anatomy of understanding what the inside of the body looks like, because that's kind of the language for the body, if that makes sense.
All right. Okay. So now you talked about those fluid tides, like you said, there's a 25-second tide, there's a 50-second tide, and it's a feeling that you're feeling in the head, like expanding a little bit, like.
Well, actually, I work a lot from the feet. You can feel it all over, because that's the cool thing about this, is that, like, if you imagine, I'm just going to get a towel or something. I'll be right back.
So you're actually doing craniosacral therapy work, and you're actually working with the feet?
Well, I can touch the body, because I'm working with a field. I can touch the body anywhere, because I feel the whole thing at once. So if you imagine here, this is the body, right? So I can touch it anywhere, and I'm feeling the whole tide at once. Now, if I have a thing that's tied up here, you can see from this affects everything. Everything affects everything, right?
So it's not only craniosacral fluid you're sensing, you're talking about blocked energy. You're doing energy work in conjunction with your craniotherapy. You're not only doing craniosacral therapy, you're doing energy work.
You can call it energy work.
I think you're doing energy work. You're doing more. You're doing more. You're not only sensing the craniosacral therapy work, you're also including, like, interaction with blocked energy in liver, stomach, intestine. Like,
oh yeah. It's not just, it's the whole, and it works on, you know, physical, mental, spiritual, the whole, emotional, wherever. It's so multidimensional. So, but if you imagine, but absolutely, when I'm holding, like when I go into the fluid tide, I can touch the body anywhere. And as I said, in these areas, they show themselves. Because if I'm in this really fluid place, anything that's not moving, it becomes really obvious. And then your body will start to review them. And then things will start to, like, percolate. And stuff happens, and people, like.
And I remember that experience when I had the treatment with you, that it was just a very subtle, like, felt like things were kind of shifting around. Like, what is that energetic movement within my body? There's no words to really explain what's happening. I can just, something's going on here. Like,
yeah, and I'll get really science. Yeah, it's kind of mysterious, and I'll get science-minded people here, and they'll, like, I'll be just sitting at their feet, and all of a sudden they'll feel this tingling go up their legs, and, like, they'd say, like, what are you doing? Why are my legs starting to tingle and stuff? Which is especially,
I'm sure, people that are not really familiar with mindfulness or meditation or the energy movements that feels like, and all of a sudden you're injecting this type of infusion of feeling and sensation into their body that they're just not familiar with.
Yeah, and like also I had a woman come years ago that cleaned houses, and her back was in a crisis, and she had one treatment and her back was fine, and she was cleaning an elderly lady's house near here, and she was like raving, "Oh, you got to see Jennifer, you got to go see her, she's amazing, blah blah blah." And the woman came, and she didn't really know why she was here, and she chatted through all the treatments, and she had about 5 treatments, and then she left, and I didn't hear from her again. And then I bumped into this woman who had recommended me, and we were chatting, and she said, "Oh yeah, she came." She goes, "I knew right away when she come to you, her house was cleaner." And I think that is so cool because, it literally cleans house inside. This is, and sometimes you can't tell what's happened during the treatment. It's like, oh, that was nice and relaxing, but I can't really tell because it's so deep and internal, and it's so subtle. And but it really does clean up those areas, those pockets, and often that'll radiate in your life in a way like her house was just cleaner. So
it's time for me to come back for another treatment with you, Jennifer. Jennifer, what has been, you have been like a meditation instructor for me, with me. You've done yoga with me. You've taught me yoga. We've done mindfulness. We've done the sacral therapy. We've done Shiatsu together.
And you've done training with my husband, which he still talks
I've done some exercise with you and your husband. I think even maybe your son or daughter.
I don't think with my daughters.
No?
My husband and Sabrina.
Your son? Do you have a son?
No.
No? Okay. I felt like your husband might have brought in your daughter one time or something. I don't know.
My memory fails me.
I'm not
sure.
I'm not sure. But, I mean, we've been kind of hanging around off and on for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Around each other energetically. And now, gravitating back to each other on the raw food and the detoxification and the distilled water cleansing and the unfooding. Yeah.
Very
Amazing. Now, how do you think it's different than Reiki and therapeutic touch?
So Reiki, I am a Reiki master as well.
Wow, she's a Reiki master too. And that's the thing. That's why I say when you are doing craniosacral therapy, you are doing all of these things together.
Well, I mean, there is truth that everything inside of you comes to, the table and stuff. But I don't think of injecting energy most of the time. Whereas you were asking the difference. I mean, there is a feeling of really sort of channeling energy with Reiki. And,
you're sending energy intentionally into the body.
I think that is, I mean, as Shiatsu as well, you hook up and I love all of them and stuff. But there is also, with biodynamic craniosacral therapy, kind of a feeling, because it's this re-empowerment, of like, and why it's so good at trauma is it has this trust that the body has everything it needs too. It as opposed to it's just a different paradigm shift. I mean, there's an energy thing that's happening anyway, of like, it's a different paradigm from I'm going to fix you, I'm going to do something to you. It's more a paradigm. I'm going to listen and let your body tell a story. And I'm going to really be respectful of that story, and I'll let you go as slow or as fast as you want, kind of thing. So I don't know if that makes sense or whatever, but there is that thing of like, everything we've done brings something to the table too. So, yeah.
Amazing. So I'll say, you've just got like a lifetime of experience in the field of energy. If you were going to talk about yourself, I think that you really need to, say this, like, I really have a lifetime of experience with energy work. I think you really have to say that. You know, I'm a biodynamic craniosacral therapist. I'm a Shiatsu. You know, I think actually you should do it this way. You should say, I do Shiatsu massage. I do yoga. I teach mindfulness. I teach meditation. I'm a Reiki master. But my true passion is biodynamic craniosacral therapy. And I'll tell you why. This is what...
I like that.
Right?
You're
because,
good,
John. This is the presentation that you need to give, because you are a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And that even may be where you need to start is, I am a healer. I have a healing experience in all of these modalities, list them. And my most passionate one, and the one that I'm, you know, gravitating to encourage people to interact with mostly now, is biodynamic craniosacral therapy. And here's why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just if you're trying to learn how to put it into verbiage, because you need to make a video, right? You need to automate your marketing message. This is what this is. We all need to learn how, because you know what? I'm a personal trainer. I'm a weight loss expert. I'm a detoxification specialist. I'm a healer. I help people change their lives with nutrition, exercise, and mindset.
Yeah.
So I have learned how to put that into a little bit of a message, right? Because what happens is, you know what, people call me during my day or contact me during the day through email, and I have to respond to them. And I have to respond to this one in this way. I have to respond to that one in that way. I have to respond to that one in that way. And after you do it for a while, you start to realize, hey, I'm kind of saying a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
Right? So like if I've talked on the phone to, you know, 3-5 people a day, or on internet like this with 3 to 5 people a day, I'm sort of talking about some things that are sort of kind of similar. Now, if I could record a message that sort of summed it up, that kind of dealt with it all, and I put that on my website, because you're just telling me you're creating a new website, and I want to make sure that I get that website and share it, because I'd like to promote you, because I love what you do. And I'll tell you, just sitting and talking with you is healing me. I can feel your energy through the camera. I can feel and sense my body relaxing, because you're such a powerful healer. But you know what, you should put it like on your website and talk about all of the things that you do and create that marketing message. So you practice your talk about craniosacral to the point that you can get it down to like 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, because people don't like to sit and listen for too long.
That's true. Yeah.
So you've got to make it down into a sound bite. So I've got a 1 minute sound bite. You know what I mean? Like, here's what I do in a 1 minute sound bite, because people need to click on it and they'll only watch 9 or 10 seconds of it.
Wow.
When you look at it, like I have a Facebook marketing message, an ad, and it shows you how long people will actually watch it for.
Yeah.
And it's a 1 minute message. People, would you believe people don't watch it?
It's true. We're so inundated with...
They'll only watch 10 or 15 seconds of it.
Wow, so you got to get the message out there real quick.
Your message needs to come real quick. So that's why I'm saying, like, I had you to tease out that message.
Yeah.
So that you can see it and hear it and see how you can make it more concise.
Yeah.
Because that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
You have to get more and more concise with it if you want to move to the next level. Like you say, you want to move to, you know, doing this more full time. Your kids are grown. You'd like to move from going at this part-time to doing this more full-time. You know what that is? That's marketing and sales.
It's totally marketing. It's so
marketing and
uncomfortable,
sales. It's so uncomfortable, but you know what though? If you don't do the marketing, as good a personal trainer or shiatsu massage person as you are, no one will know.
I know. Yeah, so true.
So marketing and sales is what we all do.
Yeah.
And we have to kind of get away from like marketing and sales is ugly. We have to kind of deal with that in ourselves, because it's the way that I put myself out there, and I'm not ugly, and my light is not ugly, and what I do is not ugly, and I feed my family with it, so it's nothing ugly about it. I'm just sharing me.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sure you feel like you'd rather be in the gym sometimes, and me too. I'd rather be teaching a class or doing the work.
I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with it, and it just comes from practice and rehearsal, and this is how it happens.
That's true. All right, I look forward to getting there.
Coaching. I've had my coaching. I'm just giving you a little bit of what I've.
I'll just share a little thing too. I remember when I met you, you were working out of the mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember saying to my husband afterwards, you know, John is the whole package. You were the first person I met who was a personal trainer who had heart and spirituality. And I just said to him, you know, John's got it all. I think he's going to make it really big.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Thank you so much. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Jennifer? I've loved our time together. It's been very healing time for me, as it always is. You know, the Meloman here had an awesome talk with Jennifer Song, a very old friend of mine, an old energy interaction, an old energy healing body, a nourishing body in my life, a healing person in my life, a healing voice in my life, someone who I really appreciate and I love spending time with. Jennifer, thanks for spending the time with me today.
Oh, thank you, John. Namaste.
Namaste.
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars.